Welcome, friends. You're listening to the Swears and Does Hair podcast for bridal hairstylists and makeup artists looking to take their business to new levels. Here we tackle topics such as mindset, finances, balancing business with motherhood, and healthy strategies to keep your body and mind supporting your business rather than holding it back. I'm your host, Sue Minsky, business coach for bridal artists and creator of the Next Level Bridal Business Program. Thanks for joining me. I can't wait to dig into today's topic, so let's get started. Okay, before we get into today's episode, I have a little pre episode announcement for you. So, my course, Unique as Fuck, is coming back in just a few weeks. And if you're unfamiliar with what that is, it's basically the very first phase of Next Level Bridal Business, where we break down what makes you unique as a bridal hairstylist or bridal makeup artist so that you can help narrow down your marketing message. It's a really great way to dive into what helps you stand out from your competitors. It's part of the topic that we're going to kind of be diving into a little bit in the rest of today's episode. But I did want to put that out there and let you know that if this is a topic that you are struggling with, if you don't really know how to express what makes you special, what makes you unique, what helps you stand out from your competitors, that has absolutely nothing to do with your artistic skill, how to pull out those special pieces of you that make you, and be what people want to work with. This is a mini course that is the whole first phase of Next Level Bridal Business. I have popped it out, taken it, and put it into a little side mini course that you can complete in a weekend. There's some wonderful worksheets and things that you can go through to help you work through this and then dial in your marketing message so that when you are putting your content out there on Instagram, on Facebook, and other forms of social media, you know exactly what makes you so special and you can double down on it. So that way, when people are looking for you and they're comparing you against somebody else who does just what you do, they are really able to see what makes you super special and why you're the perfect person to work with them. It is the basis of all marketing. What is your unique angle? So the mini course is called Unique as Fuck. It is coming back in just a few weeks. So make sure that you're following me on Instagram. Sign up for my email newsletters. You'll get more information about that. And then I will put a link in the description to this week's episode where you can go on my website to sign up for the newsletters as well. So let's get into today's episode. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Swears and Does Hair podcast. I am your host, Sue Minsky, and this week we are diving into another topic of marketing, and we are going to be talking about how to show up on social media to increase your know, like, and trust factor. Now, if you've never heard this term before, allow me to introduce it to you. It's one of the core principles of marketing, and basically it comes in three parts. Number one is know. People need to know who you are. They need to find you online, and then they need to get to know who you are, what you do, who you help, how you help them. Okay? So you have to get that piece of the puzzle out of the way. People need to know who you are. They can't buy from you if they've never found you before. The next piece of the puzzle is like, okay? And now people need to actually like you before they're going to invest their money with you. All right. Doesn't matter how great of a hairstylist or how great of a makeup artist you are. If you come across as an asshole, they are not going to give you their money. They don't want to work with people who have bad energy and just a negative vibe, or people who just don't fit in with the type of vibe that they're going for on their wedding day. So they first have to find you and know who you are and what you do, but then they need to actually like who you are before they're willing to say, hey, I want this person around me on one of the most important and stressful days of my life. Okay. And then after that, the third piece is trust. They need to trust you. And this is going to come down to a variety of different things. It's not just trust that you are a good hairstylist, so that you're a good makeup artist. Okay. That's going to kind of be self-evident with your photos and your videos that you post of your work. But the part that people are really missing is, can they trust you with their wedding? Can they trust you with their money? Can they trust you with their beauty and their comfort and their happiness and their self confidence? Can they trust their bridal party in your hands as well? It's not just down to, again, are you a good hairstylist or a good makeup artist? AI is changing the game, filters changing the game. People can take shitty work and pass it off as beautiful online. There are a ton of people who are scammers for hair and makeup artists. You can Google. There's one woman who has literally moved all over Canada and the United States, popping up, setting up these little bridal hair and makeup businesses, collecting a bunch of deposits and retainers from people, and then screwing them out of their money. She's been arrested. There's like this whole big thing. You may have already heard about her. It's been a couple of years now that she's been doing this off and on again. All right. People have heard these stories. People have heard horror stories from friends and families. They need to know that they can actually trust you as a legitimate business. And now a lot of people get really pissy and they're just like, well, read my reviews and look at my website and look at my Instagram, and they should just trust me because I am the professional. Get your head out of your ass. Okay, first of all, put your ego away. People have to trust you. Okay, and just showing up with this attitude of, I am the professional, just trust me because I say I am trustworthy. You can fake photos, you can fake reviews, you can design a beautiful website in a day filled with stolen images and, fake reviews. People need to be able to see the you behind the business and understand how you conduct your business, how you communicate with people, and how trustworthy are you really. Okay, so that's a huge piece that I see people kind of missing, or people who get like really pissed off about brides wanting trials. And they're like, it is not to try out me, it is to try out your look. Well, guess what? There are people who are fucking things up for the rest of the industry, who are being really unprofessional and screwing people over, or people misrepresenting the level of their quality and their skills. Okay. And then there are people who are just gun shy or really don't understand how to communicate. And they're looking for somebody who can work with them in person and not just send them emails. Okay, or not just get on a phone call with them, but how are you actually going to communicate with them when it comes to doing the hair and makeup? Are you actually going to be able to say, this is the correct expectation, and manage these kinds of things? Are you going to be able to communicate and pull out of them what they're actually wanting, what they're actually looking for? Or are you going to come across with your ego and do what you want and what you think looks good regardless? Because everybody can talk a good talk online. Okay, everybody can talk a good talk in a phone consult, but when it comes to a trial, people need to know, all right, are you actually going to listen to me and my wants and my needs, or are you just going to brush it off and say, well, I'm the professional, I know better, and this is how we actually need to do this? You can say those things. There are definitely going to be times when those are valid. All right. If somebody comes in and they have like Homer Simpson hair and they want these big Russian updos, yeah, you're going to have to break it to them that we need fillers, we need extensions, that this is maybe not something that is a good choice for them. All right. But people do want to know that they're going to be working with somebody who communicates that. And so if you're getting a lot of people who are like, well, I want to try you out first, guess what? That is a huge sign. That's a big red flag that you're not communicating in your social media and your website and your emails and your prep documents and all these other things, that you can be trusted to, them to send you a contract and send you hundreds or thousands of dollars to hold their wedding date. And that when a month or two before the wedding shows up and you sit down for a trial, that you haven't misrepresented yourself, that you are able to communicate, you are able to listen to their needs and their fears and their concerns and help them overcome these things. Because a month before the wedding, they're fucked. Okay. And they know it. They know if they commit to you and you're like, well, I'm not going to do a trial until right before the wedding day, that if they don't like what you actually do, that they are completely fucked. All right. So if you are somebody who is getting a lot of these people and being like, oh, why can't they just trust me? You need to take a look at how you're representing yourself on your social media and being like, okay, how trustworthy am I coming across? Am I coming across with an ego? Or am I coming across with examples of people who are in the same exact position that they were in and how we overcame those concerns or those fears? Are you talking about the trial process enough? Are you talking about the wedding day process enough? Are you talking about your experience from a place, again, a place of ego, of I've been doing this for so long and look at my work, isn't it great? Or are you talking about your level of skill and experience of here's how I continue my education, and here's how I listen to my clients, and here are the most common concerns that people have, and how I help them overcome that. That builds trust. That builds more than coming across and saying, well, I've been doing this for 15 years. Great. There are people that have been doing this for 15 years who have not updated their skills in 15 years. I can show you their Instagram. They're people I used to work with. Okay. There are people out there who have not updated their skill set in forever. Just because they've been doing this for a long time does not automatically make them a more skilled artist than somebody fresh out of beauty school who's been maybe doing this for 6 months, has natural ability, a ton of fucking drive, and is educating the shit out of themselves when it comes to their hair or their makeup skills. So, can you understand why this is such a huge piece of the puzzle that a lot of people might be missing? If you are one of those people, it's okay. Don't worry about it. There is a way to fix it. There is a way to really shift your messaging online. And that is the purpose of today's topic. Okay. So, how are you going to show up on social media in a way that leaves your ego out of things, puts the client first, and helps to alleviate their fears so that they really trust you? And when people trust you, they move through the booking process much faster. So, again, this is another key indicator of where there is something missing in your marketing, something missing in your messaging. It's not just a sign of the times. All right. I think a lot of people, it's easier to fall into the trap of, well, brides these days. I've never run into this before. Okay. Well, how are you going to shift? Are you going to sit there and pout? And are you going to complain? And are you just going to bitch online about brides these days? Or are you going to use it as a red flag, as a way to wake up and say, okay, I need to shift. I need to do something different in my messaging that overcomes this problem, instead of just sitting there and complaining about it and blaming brides and being like, why can't brides book quickly anymore? There's a million reasons, but one of the big things that you have control over is your messaging. How are you coming across to them? How are you building that level of trust with them? Because it's no longer about, can you do good hair or makeup? There are so many ways to fake it. There are so many horror stories out there. There were so many brides who have been screwed over during COVID, who had contracts with people and lost a ton of money, had to reschedule. And there's so many issues out there. And brides these days are more aware of those and are looking for somebody with a high level of trust. All right. The key thing that I want you to take away from today's conversation: people aren't buying your services, they're buying you. Okay. And that's a big piece that a lot of people forget. We've gotten over no. All right. That's not what we're really going to get into today. Today, we're going to really focus on the like and the trust aspect of things. We already talked a little bit about trust. We'll get into that a little bit more in a few minutes. But let's take a step back. Let's go to that second part, that like. Okay. They're not just buying you. They're not just buying your services. They are buying you. Okay. They're buying your presence, your energy, your professionalism, and all of the things about you that make working with you special and different and unique. Okay. So before you can even move on to the trust factor, you have to understand who your target audience is. You need to understand who your dream brides are and what they need to know from you in order to trust you. Okay, so you can move on to the trust factor and what they need to know about you to like you. Okay, because people are going to have different priorities. People are going to have different vibes and energy that they're looking for on their wedding day. I've talked about it a bunch of times before, but if you're new to the podcast or if you haven't taken any of my courses before or really listened to me speak, there are different vibes. There are different energies of people that other brides want around them on their wedding morning. Some brides do not want the high energy hype girl, okay? Some brides want a calm presence and vice versa. There are people who are like, yeah, I don't want you to quietly just sit there and work. We're going to be having fun. I want somebody there hyping me up. I want high energy. So you have to understand the type of energy that you bring to a room. All right. And is that what your dream brides want? Same thing when it comes to communication. Some brides do not have time to sit there and schedule phone consults. They don't want to have to go through all of that. They don't want to have to go through 50 million emails. They want everything nice and neat and organized. They want all of the information available at their fingertips at 3 a.m. when they're on their phone scrolling through social media and finding people's websites. They want to be able to get the information quickly and easily without having to wait for you to give it to them. All right. And then there are other people who are never going to read your website. They are not going to read all of the things and they want to be spoon fed the information. They want somebody who is consistently following up with them and they need more hand holding. What does your dream bride want from you? What level of commitment to communication and that hand holding and that service? What do you do in your service that maybe makes you more unique and helps you stand out from somebody else? Because brides are going to have different needs, different personalities. All right. Not everybody is going to want to work with somebody who runs their business the way that you run your business. All right. They're going to still find you. All right. If you're doing a really good job with your marketing online, the wrong brides are always still going to find you, but they're not going to move through the booking process because they're not going to like you and they're not really going to trust you. And they're going to be like, no, this is not the right person for me. I'll still contact them. Their work is still really good. So I'll ask them if they're available and I'll ask them what their prices are. And if maybe they're cheap enough, then I'd be willing to overlook these other things about their personality and the trust factor and whatnot that maybe isn't checking all of the right boxes for them, but they're like, all right, you know what? It's easy, it's quick. Let me just fill out this form. Let me send them a DM or text or however, they can contact and communicate with you. So they're going to waste a lot of your time because they're the wrong people. All right. Good marketing turns those people away beforehand, before they even get to that point. But it really is kind of like the bridal culture these days, is just to reach out to everybody, whether or not they really love them. But the ones who are a right fit for your business, who your marketing is really resonating and really speaking with, they're the ones that not only move through the booking process, but move through the booking process quickly and efficiently. They're not dragging their feet. They have what they need to make the buying decision. They already have found you and they really like you and they really trust you. There's nothing holding them back at that point. Now, you might be thinking, well, maybe price is what holds people back. And let me give you a prime example of how that's not really the excuse you think it is. All right. So I have a student who's been working with me for a while. And she has transformed how she does her Instagram marketing and how she presents herself online with social media. And she sent me a text yesterday, and she said, all right, I had a dream bride, a unicorn bride today, and we were talking about the trial. And this is what she sent me afterwards. She said, she picked me because of who I am. Yes, she loved my work, but it was between me and another girl. But she would see my posts on Facebook wedding groups and thought my words were always so kind and helpful. She picked me, and it literally had zero to do with money. And now she gets these kind of comments all the time. I happened to screenshot this conversation, and I wanted to bring it up because I was recording today's episode, and I was like, well, that's really kind of a perfect example to showcase that it really doesn't come down to money. If people like you, all right, and they trust you, there is no more barriers. It's not going to be, well, they were comparing me versus somebody else, and they went with the other person because it was cheaper, or they went with me because it was cheaper. That's not going to be that last barrier. If you're overcoming the more important things, the really liking you and the trusting you, the money becomes less of an issue and less of a factor. I'll give you another perfect example. Have you ever gone to go rent a car? Okay. There are a ton of car options, or even just purchase a car. All right. Buy, purchase, whatever. It doesn't matter. A car still gets you from point A to point B. It has the exact same function. But what makes somebody gravitate towards purchasing or renting or leasing or whatever one car versus another? They're going to have different priorities. Some people are going to prioritize fuel efficiency and say, well, I want a hybrid, or I want an electric, or I want something that has the best gas mileage. That's really important to me. And they're going to look at and they're going to prioritize those things. Okay. And other people are going to say, no, I want luxury. I want like leather seats and heated seats. I want functionality. When my husband and I, we were looking for our minivan, we went and we saw a bunch of different minivans, and they were all right around the same price. Okay. And what drew us to the one that we ended up going with was just the functionality of it. It felt much easier to work with. Now, they all had the same kind of bells and whistles. They still had like the sliding doors and, the push button start and all the little fun functional type things on the dashboard and all that kind of stuff. And at the end of the day, it was still a van. It still had enough space to seat all of us. But we went with the one that we did because it checked off the right boxes for us. So when it comes to your marketing, creating your marketing message, you need to understand, well, what boxes do I need to check for my dream brides? And how can I present myself online in a way that checks those boxes? What is important to my bride in terms of communication? What is important to my bride in terms of personality? Now, it doesn't have to always be that your brides and you always love all of the same things, but there should be enough of your personality out there where people are either drawn to you or repelled. I'm a good example of this. I am not like a lot of other um, bridal hair and makeup coaches and things like that. Okay. I am super straightforward. I tell shit like it is. I swear. Um, I don't always show up all perfectly hair and makeup. I happen to have done my hair and makeup today, but if you watch other videos or if you look at my Instagram, I'm not always this like highly curated, perfect model hair, makeup, face, outfit. I'm not out here trying to be an influencer. I'm not out here trying to be your hype girl or your best friend and things like that. Yes, I hype my clients up, and yes, I actually become Facebook friends and kind of personal friends with a lot of my coaching students because I care very, very deeply about who you are as a person. It's not just your business. I want to know your life and your lifestyle and your life goals so that we can build a business that supports those. But my style of communication and my style of coaching, super straightforward. Not a lot of people can handle it. Okay. There are definitely times when people have started working with me and they're kind of like, okay, she's not going to kiss my ass. She's not going to tell me what I want to hear. She's probably going to tell me a lot of things that I don't want to hear. And she's probably going to tell me a lot of the uncomfortable things and the red flags that she's seeing and the things that I'm doing wrong. Because in my mind, why are you going to pay me to tell you that you're doing everything right? Because if you're doing everything right, it would be working. Okay. And you wouldn't need me and you wouldn't need my help. So I skip over a lot of the fluff. And some people are like really off put by that. And they're like, nope, I need the fluff. My ego is fragile. And I need somebody who's gonna hold my hand. And not necessarily push me as much as I do as a coach. I can be a little intimidating, and I get that. I've always gotten that my entire life. I've always been super intimidating. As a kid on the playground in like elementary school, I terrified the boys. Like they were terrified of me. And even through like high school, there were definitely some guys who like in gym class were just like, huh, you're a little intense. And I was like, yes, I am, and I've always just had probably a healthier sense of self-confidence than I should, because I am not perfect and I definitely fuck up and make a lot of mistakes. But I think what sets me apart is that I don't see mistakes as a personal failure. I see mistakes as a learning experience, and I move on from it. And I move on from it quickly. I don't like to dwell. And I think maybe it's a little bit because I had a really, really shitty upbringing, and kind of a tragic backstory. If I ever became a supervillain, it would make a great movie. I literally had a therapist in college stop and go, your life story sounds like a Lifetime movie for women. And that was the last day I went to go see her, by the way, because that just did not sit right with me. Things were going great and everything, but that was just kind of that energy shift and that vibe where I was like, we're no longer connecting. I no longer have that sense of trust in you that I once had. And she was a great therapist, but it just didn't work anymore. So again, that could be another example that you can be like, huh, yeah, energy and vibe really do make a difference. Somebody can be fantastic at what they do, but then something shifts and it's like, oop, nope, no longer working for me anymore. Okay. So it's really important to kind of keep that in the back of your mind, that who you are as a person and how you represent yourself is either going to attract people to you, and that is a good thing because it's going to attract the right people to you. But it is also going to repel people from you because they're not going to be able to handle you. They're not going to be able to handle the real you. And you can water yourself down to try and fit in with what is popular and trendy on social media. You can have all of the, blush tones and washed out colors and the light and airy photos and all that kind of stuff. And, the sparkles and the crystals and the girly whatever and the boho this. But if that's not authentic to you, people are not going to trust that. Okay, so the other half of the like in the trust, kind of where they intersect, is that it has to feel authentic. People have to be able to look at your social media and be like, yes, what she's representing and how she's representing herself feels authentic to who she is. Because if you're trying to represent yourself as whatever is popular and trendy in the moment, and you show up and you're not that, people are going to be like, who is this? I'm buying a liar. Okay. And they don't want to buy a liar. They don't want to feel like who you represent yourself online is not real, is not authentic. And that's the way that like Instagram marketing used to be. Okay. People used to want to see this perfectly curated highlight reel, and they didn't want to see the messy. They didn't want to see the behind the scenes of what your life was really like. They just wanted to see, well, what can you do for me? All right, that has shifted. A lot of that has changed just through the growth of social media and how people use it and how people interact. But I think a lot of it has also shifted due to COVID. I think a lot of people took a step back and reevaluated a lot of parts of their lives. And social media, TikTok and Instagram and Facebook were all ways for us to connect with one another because we weren't able to do it in person anymore. And we didn't want this like superficial connection. We wanted to actually feel something. We wanted to actually connect with people online. And that's why I think a lot of people really blew up while others stayed really stagnant, is because they were trying to represent themselves um in this inauthentic way, and it comes across that way, and people can see it. Not everybody looks perfect every single day. I don't care if you're a hairstylist or a makeup artist. We know we don't do our hair and makeup every single day. We have our off days. We're not always perfect. And trying to represent yourself that you're always this level of perfection, I think, is just, it's unrealistic, and people know that, and they're like, "Yeah, okay, but what do you look like on like day 18 of your cycle, when you're like ready to rip people's heads off and you have a pimple popping out, and your hair is greasy because your oil production and whatever, and your hormones are going crazy, and like reality, like what do you really look like at home?" And you can't forget to leave out that piece of the puzzle. Now, am I saying, okay, take a picture of you looking like a schlub and post it on there, and that's suddenly going to make people like you or trust you more? No. But being authentic in how you communicate your personality and who you are and what your real life is like is going to draw in the right people, is going to draw in the ones who connect with the things that you like and the things that you do and who you are just as a person, your personality. All right. So don't forget to make sure that you're really being authentic, so that you can get messages like some of my coaching students who are saying, uh, because of who I am. Yes, she loved my work, but it was between me and another girl. She picked me, and it literally had nothing to do with money. Okay. So that's a really big piece of the puzzle that so many people are missing. They barely even show their face online. All right. The fastest way to get people to like you and to trust you is just to fucking show up, just to show your face. If I were to go to your Instagram or your TikTok or your Facebook, do I know what you look like, or do I just see all of the brides that you work with? How often are you showing up online, showing your face, and being authentic? How often are you preaching to your audience about, here's how to prep your hair, here's how to, um, you know, uh, get your head counts and whatever, and here's what your makeup artist really wants you to know, or here's how to do this makeup look, or here's how to do, like, all of these preachy educational kinds of things. Yes, they have a strong benefit. Okay. They really help to build up the trust side of things. They show you as an expert. Okay. They're saying, all right, this person does know what they're talking about. Here's how they can help me with my wedding hair and makeup, and here's how they make the process easy for me, or whatever. But how often are you showing up and just having a conversation with your audience? There are a lot of people that I see that do this really, really well. All right. They just get on camera and they talk to their audience. All right. Now, there's a strategic way to do it, and I teach it inside of my Instagram Visibility Factor course. You don't want to just sit there with your phone and like just talk and have 20 slides of you just talking. People don't watch that shit. Okay. They slide right through those. Those are not helping your business. But you can absolutely have a conversation with your audience where you're facing the screen and you're talking to them. Okay. So I'm going to give you a little tip here. Pretend you're having a conversation with one person. Stop trying to talk to your audience as a whole. Stop trying to talk to the internet as a whole. Pretend you are having a one-on-one conversation with one specific person. Okay? What piece of information does that person need to know right now? Talk to them. Tell them. Pretend you're sitting down to coffee with them. And this is an analogy I go over when I do like one-on-one coaching and things like that. I do it all the time. When it comes to like helping you create content and come up with content ideas, caption ideas, real topics, things like that. Pretend you're at coffee with a friend of yours who is engaged and looking for hair and makeup for their wedding. What do they need to know? have a conversation. You can do that in your Instagram stories, and you can just talk to your audience, but vary it. Okay, don't just make it like 5 slides a minute each and you're just talking. That gets really boring. People don't want to watch that. So you want to kind of alternate between different slides of different types of content, but you still want to be front facing. You still want to actually talk to your audience. You want to have reels where you're just talking to your audience. You're sharing your expertise, you're sharing your knowledge, and you're sharing it in a way that's your personality. How would you talk to somebody in person, either sitting there at coffee or at the trial or on a wedding day? Okay, pretend that you are there on a wedding day and somebody has asked you a question or somebody has shown you a photo of a look. How are you going to break down that look to them? How are you going to explain to them? How are you going to answer their question? This will give you endless content ideas that you can use for your social media. And then now here you are showing up authentically. So they get to like you, and then they really get to trust you because you're also providing this value of, hey, I'm an expert in my field. I know what I'm talking about. And then they trust you. Okay. So you're overcoming all of these little obstacles and you're helping yourself come up with content ideas. You're not sitting there trying to completely reinvent the wheel all the time. You are coming in and saying, hey, this is something that I answer all the time. You don't even really have to think about it. All right. It's super, super easy. Okay, before I get into today's affirmation, I want to give you some final thoughts on this topic. You don't need to treat your social media like an educator would. Okay, remember at the end of the day, it's brides who are booking you. It is them who need to get to know, like, and trust you. Other hairstylists, other makeup artists, other educators, yes, that's our support group. That's our friend group. That's the people that we vent to. That's the people that we bounce ideas off of. But at the end of the day, it is brides who need to like us and who need to trust us. So keep that in the back of your mind when you're creating content. You want them to trust you and to trust you with their wedding day and with their insecurities and with the things that are going to kind of go wrong. I saw on a Facebook group last week sometime, and there was somebody who came out and I applaud her. She was like super vulnerable in her post, and she even said, she was being really super vulnerable, and she said, here's something to think about before you post on social media. She had a wedding where things kind of went wrong. Okay. And she made a post about it on social media. She didn't name the bride or whatever, but the bride watched it and knew from like the circumstances that she was describing that bride or that artist was talking about her. And she took it very personally. And yes, those things did happen. Um, but the bride took it the wrong way. And then she turned around and she left her a really bad review. Okay. So when we want to educate our brides, we have to remember we still need to have a professional tone. We can educate brides and say, hey, this is something that could happen on a wedding day. Here's how we can overcome it, or here's how you can prevent this from being something that happens on your wedding day without throwing your current brides under the bus. Nobody should be able to look at your Instagram and know and feel that you're talking about them and that you're talking shit about them. And other people, even though it might not be them that you're talking about, they'll see that still and be like, oh, hey, I don't want to work with this person because God forbid something goes wrong on their wedding day. She's just going to turn around and talk shit about me online. No, thank you. That's not a good look. It's not a good vibe. It doesn't come across professionally. So yes, it might be funny and it might be fun to vent and post silly reels, kind of mocking different situations and making fun of some of the things that brides do wrong. I get it. Trust me, I understand where you're coming from and why you may want to do that. However, I really caution you to remember at the end of the day, your brides want to like you. Okay, they need to like you. And some people, their target market, they think that shit is funny. They love it, and they're like, "Yeah, absolutely. That's totally good. My brides won't have a problem with that." If your brides are the kind, and you need to do your due diligence, and you need to really look at your target market and how you structure your business and who you're working with, is that the way that you want to represent yourself? Yes, it may get you a lot of Insta fame, but is that going to pay the bills? Probably not. Not unless you become an influencer. Not unless you take this huge influx of likes and followers and turn it into a way to promote products and get affiliate kickbacks. So unless brands are going to start sending you a bunch of free stuff, and you're going to be start getting a bunch of kickbacks from promoting people's stuff as an influencer, you still have to remember at the end of the day, your brides need to like you. So please don't be a dick online. Okay. So, you have to show up in a way that showcases your professionalism, your vibe, your personality, your trustworthiness, your expertise. All right. I know it sounds like a lot. There's a really, really easy way to do it. I talk a lot about it inside my coaching, but it's just kind of keep that in mind. All right. Just don't make fun of people, and that brides need more from you than just that you do hair and makeup, or that you say that you're a good hairstylist or a good makeup artist. They need to actually trust you, and you need to present yourself in a way that comes across as trustworthy. All right. So today's affirmation, let's get to it, and we'll wrap up this week's episode. All right. Repeat after me. I am perfect just the way I am. It is safe for me to show up online authentically. And I do not need to be obsessed with creating a perfected version of me or my life. All right. Don't let Instagram pull you down. Do not let Instagram and everybody's curated highlight reels of their life make you compare yourself. Don't look at what some educator that you look up to is doing with their life and say, I need to be that. I need to do that. It's great to be inspired by people. Okay. It's amazing to find inspiration and people being where you want to be in your career. But it doesn't mean that you have to copy them. It doesn't mean that you have to suddenly become them. You don't have to copy their color schemes or their decor choices. You don't have to start incorporating their personality in their verbiage. You don't need to talk the way that they talk. Okay, you don't need to buy all the same products and buy all the same tools and run your business exactly like them. You still need to always remember that you and who you are authentically is the core of your business and is what makes people love you. Okay? Love you, not just your work. And when people write reviews that are really good reviews that other brides listen and pay attention to, they talk about how much they enjoyed working with you. Those are the most valuable ones. And because you are the most valuable piece of that. Remember, they can get hair and makeup anywhere, okay? They can buy any car. It still gets them from A to Z. What's important about that car? What's important about you that they are going to be attracted to? You have to be authentic in that. You can't try and model your life or your business after anybody else's. It's not going to work for you. You can take inspiration from them. You can try their strategies and implement different things, okay? I don't want anybody to turn around and become a copycat of me, of my business, just because I am educating people and saying, hey, this is what's worked. This is how I was able to build, this six-figure business, multiple businesses. Here's how I ran a team. Here's how I've done this, all the things. I don't want people to become a carbon copy of me. I don't want them to start doing everything the way that I did it. And that's why I try when I coach people and when I do my courses and stuff like that. I don't just say, here's the one path that I took that got me this success, copy it. Because that's not, to me, authentic coaching. That's not helpful. it's not going to work for you. You're not me. You don't have the same life. You don't live in the same area. You don't have the same priorities. You don't have the same children or husband or support system or whatever. Your goals were not my goals. We may have similar goals. So I like to coach people and be like, hey, what is your life like? Let's put together a plan and a strategy. There are core principles of marketing, like the know, like, and trust factor. That's going to be a universal thing. When you understand these concepts, you can take them and put them into your business and your lifestyle. Okay. I'm not saying go out there, write this post, do this thing. This is how many times a day you have to post on Instagram. You have to be on TikTok. You have to do this. You have to do that. It's building a business and building a life that's authentic to you. So don't forget about that authenticity piece. Follow people who represent themselves authentically online. Take inspiration from them. When you see these big names and these people who look like they have everything and they're exactly where you want to be, um, take what they say with a grain of salt, because if they're not showing what the reality of behind the scenes is like, then they're trying to sell you a pipe dream. They're trying to say that this path is the one perfect path, and there is no such thing as one perfect path. There's a million perfect paths. Don't get into the comparison game and feel bad or feel wrong about the way that you're doing things. It's okay to be wrong. It's okay to fuck up, and it's okay to be like, oh, I'm kind of doing this wrong in my business. I should shift how I do things. That's great. It's amazing if you can recognize when you are doing things wrong, because that's when you make changes. That's when you make shifts. And when you make changes and when you make shifts, that's when you move forward in your business. By having an ego of this is the way I do things and this is the way that they've always worked, I'm just going to keep doing them and keep beating my head against the wall and hope that they start working again. That's not how you ever grow, and that's not how you ever move forward in your business. So be open to change, be open to mistakes, be open to being authentic, and follow the people who lead you authentically, and help you find your authenticity. So that's my little rant for the day. I've had some conversations with some people lately, also as well, who kind of inspired that. So if you're somebody I've had a conversation with in the last week where you're like, this sounds a little bit like what we were talking about, you might have been some of the inspiration for today's affirmation. All right, I'll repeat it one more time for you, though. I am perfect just the way I am. It is safe for me to show up online authentically, and I do not need to be obsessed with creating a perfected version of me or my life. Show up authentically. The people who really love you and really want to work with you will be the people that move through the booking process. The people who do not move through the booking process are not the right people for you. They were not meant for you. Don't take it personally. There are a million other brides out there. There are a million other opportunities. Let the right ones fall in your lap and forget about the rest. All right, that is today's episode. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching if you're watching on the YouTube, and I will see you back next week. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. I hope you feel empowered, knowledgeable, and capable of handling anything that your business throws your way. Don't forget to subscribe to get access to new episodes as they are released here on YouTube, or tune in on Apple Podcasts and Spotify for the latest conversations. Love today's episode? Let me know. Leave me a comment and tell me what your biggest takeaway was from the conversation. Have a request for a future topic or someone you'd like to hear me interview? Find me on Instagram at BeautyBizCollective and drop me a DM. And if you're hungry for more actionable content to help you grow your bridal business, click the link in the description below this video to sign up for my free on-demand training to learn how to book better quality brides faster, easier, and with less stress. See you next time.